when I pull back out of the specificity principle, I leave more energy and I leave more time for the proper practice to happen.
Yeah.
Because the practice is where the sportsman gets better. Here is where the athlete gets better.
Functional training is a term that is thrown around an awful lot, but which is infamously nebulous and hard to define. This partly explains the varied responses that we see to the term, with some seeing it as the future of fitness, and others seeing it as a bunch of fools on wobble boards. Spoiler, I fall firmly in the former camp. So, what is functional training, and how do you employ the strategies in your workouts? Functional training has no single definition. Generally though, it is agreed that functional training means training for function. You are trying to improve functional capacity by ensuring you can do the things you want to do better, or alternatively, gaining the ability to do more things. Functional training can be generally divided into two camps depending on your goals. Training for specific athletic skills, or training to be more capable in everyday life. Let's take a look at both. Athletes can use functional training as a form of complementary preparation alongside their main practice to enhance their performance in a given activity. This typically comes down to several things. Training core stability to facilitate the transfer of power via the limbs, training explosiveness to develop greater speed and power, training proprioception to enhance balance, coordination and agility, training range of motion to prevent injury and create more opportunities for performance, focusing on prehabilitation to prevent injury. Of course, there's more to it than that, but this is a good starting point and a good introduction to the kinds of things you'll likely be doing. Juan Carlos J.C. Santana is director of the Institute of Human Performance. How cool is that name? In his book Functional Training, he describes functional strength as strength that you can use on the field. JC is also careful to distinguish between functional training and sport-specific training.
We develop athleticism and gas. That's our job.
Yeah.
Okay? Once that happens, the sports coach is in charge of the player. You go, all right, they locomote a lot.
Yeah.
I have to stabilize that single leg plant and the 7-frame, huge.
Sure.
Okay,
yeah.
They cut a lot. So I got to apply terminal extension, terminal triple extension, not in the middle, terminal with an inverted and everted ankle.
Right, yeah.
Notice those little details. So I've got my wall slides and I've got my little exercises that I can do. It's very easily prepare a person for that.
So that is fairly specific to the athletes.
It gets pretty specific, but I think once you get it, you go, oh shit, of course it is. And that's it? I'm going, that's it. Functional training is the amount of training that can be applied to a specific activity. Okay? Yeah. The amount of training that's outside of that realm can be general. That's your bodybuilding strength training. Yeah. All right. And your sports specific, which is basically the swinging or something, maybe with a heavier bat or something like that. All good stuff. The functional training is in the middle. Why? Because it allows you to apply more strength to that batting, to the running, to the whatever it is that you're doing. And it's usually sandwiched between general strength and sports-specific strength.
Awesome. So it's like the link between the two.
It's the bridge, yes.
Awesome. And that, so yeah, literally transferring the strength to the movement.
Perfect.
Awesome. What way to end? That's brilliant.
Developing the hip stability necessary to move powerfully off of one leg translates to greater running speed and lower incidence of injury. Running is categorised here as locomotion, which is one of the 4 big sports skills. The complete list looks like this: locomotion, level changes, pushing and pulling, rotation. They also learn to use them in tandem. Often emphasis here is placed on neuromuscular adaptations more so than hypertrophy. For example, we can look at the way that the body transfers power through the transverse plane via the serape effect. By using a cable, the individual is forced to brace their core against the resistance and maintain enough stability to then exert force via the shoulders, chest and delts. Over time, the athlete should theoretically adapt and learn to engage their rotational strength while also generating and applying the necessary power. This lets them actually use the pushing power they've developed in a useful manner, and this is applicable for an athlete swinging a bat or a racket. Thing is, if you only train with the big 3 lifts, you're doing nothing to develop rotational strength or single leg strength. Likewise, you won't improve your mobility outside of fixed patterns, or learn to coordinate movements in other ways. But training with both heavy lifts and this type of functional movement can provide the maximum performance benefits. Build that strength, then learn to apply that strength. Different coaches will of course take different approaches, but there'll be many similarities across different gyms. I highly recommend checking out the IHP Fit YouTube channel. JC really knows his stuff. I'll put the link in the description down below. But how does functional training apply to the general population outside of athletes? Well, if we use the same logic, the objective here would be to train in such a way as to support everyday activities. That doesn't necessarily mean mimicking everyday activities, but rather developing strength, mobility and control that can help us to perform them better. Do you really need functional training to go about your relatively low intensity lifestyle? Well, functional training helps me anytime I need to get up off the floor in seconds, regardless of what position I was in previously, because my daughter has run off towards the kitchen. Functional training also benefited me recently when I was required to carry heavy bags of cement, then heavy fence panels, from the delivery van to our house. If this sounds familiar, that's because functional training as applied to the general populace takes a lot of cues from Georges Hebert's natural method, or Le Méthode Naturelle. I'm sorry if I butchered that pronunciation. Georges spent time in the French Marines in the early 1900s, but after coordinating the escape and rescue of 700 plus people from disaster, he gained a renewed appreciation for the importance of athletic skill and performance. To that end, he developed a system for complete physical development, influenced by the indigenous people he observed in Africa. He believed in being strong to be useful, which is at the core of functional training. His ideas would go on to inspire parkour and MovNat. He's also responsible for the military's use of assault courses. Without Georges, there probably wouldn't be Ninja Warrior either. Georges wrote this: "The final goal of physical education is to make strong beings. In the purely physical sense, the natural method promotes the qualities of organic resistance, muscularity and speed towards being able to walk, run, jump, move on all fours, to climb, to keep balance, to throw, lift, defend yourself and to swim. In the virile or energetic sense, the system consists in having sufficient energy, willpower, courage, coolness and firmness. In the moral sense, education, by elevating the emotions, directs or maintains the moral drive in a useful and beneficial way. The true natural method in its broadest sense must be considered as the result of these three particular forces. It is a physical, virile and moral synthesis. It resides not only in the muscles and the breath, but above all in the energy which is used, the will which directs it and the feeling which guides it." This is similar in concept to the 7 primal movements as described by physiologist Paul Chek: push, pull, squat, lunge, bend, twist, gait. JC has likewise developed a streamlined version of this. His 4 pillars of human movement are locomotion, level changes, pushing and pulling, and rotation. And this of course is linked to the 4 big sports skills. In his book, The Functional Training Bible, author Guido Bruscia outlines a distinction between actions and functions. The adductor brevis might have the action of adducting the thigh, but one of its functions is to help maintain hip stability during normal walking gait. So to train functionally, we should focus on walking with a movement like the farmer's walk, rather than using the hip adductor machine. After all, when do you ever need to crush something between your thighs? Such approaches tend to favour training the whole body as a compound system rather than isolating specific muscles. While there can be benefits to using isolation and single joint movements, we rarely move that way in real life. Training with only isolation movements will often result in imbalances and poor intramuscular coordination. This is why we often say things like kettlebells are more functional. That's because kettlebells inherently involve more muscles working at unpredictable angles. In real life, there are no straight lines and few constrained repetitive movement patterns. If you want strength that transfers to everyday tasks, you need to be adaptable. But to be clear, this is a spectrum and it's something that is highly personal. I don't agree with the notion that bodybuilding style training is non-functional. Bodybuilding will make you stronger, though perhaps not to the same degree as powerlifting, and it will also increase your strength endurance, possibly more so than powerlifting, owing to the higher rep ranges. You're still increasing functional capacity, you can still do more than you could before, and if you're a pro bodybuilder, then there's no training that is more functional for your sport. So it all depends on your goals. As for my goals, my interests lie in using functional training to develop skills and abilities that I don't necessarily need in my day-to-day life. I want to be able to planche, flip, kick, climb, lift heavy weights and handstand, not because any of these skills are required for my daily life, but because I want to explore the performance I'm capable of, because it's fun and because it might one day come in handy. I can't understand people who say I don't need to be faster or more stable. You don't need to be richer or happier or better looking either. How is having greater physical capacity anything other than awesome? Think about what else you could accomplish if you had more energy and more power, and that's before we consider the benefits that physical training have on brain function, mood, or general health. Isn't it cool to be more like the heroes that we look up to on the big screen? Why do most people who work out at gyms focus purely on aesthetics or trying to lift really big numbers in just 3 key lifts. Hyperspecialization won't undo all the damage that sitting for 10 hours a day does. It just makes you better at those lifts. The human body is capable of so much more. Surely it's better to improve in as many disparate areas of performance as possible, even if you don't become the very best at any one of those things. I don't just want to be functional, I want to be super functional. I don't want to be strong to be useful, I want to be strong to be awesome. If you feel the same way, then be sure to check out my ebook and training program, Super Functional Training. The link is in the description down below, and there's a discount on whilst we're all in lockdown. It's a PDF that explains how to develop body and mind in ways that most people overlook, drawing on concepts from old-time strongmen, recent research, martial arts, and countless forms of other training. Thanks a ton for watching this video, guys. If you found it useful and interesting, then please leave a like and share it around. Let me know in the comments down below what you think about functional training, and subscribe for much more content like this. Hope you guys are all safe and healthy, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks a ton for watching, and bye for now.